previous panel talked about when you stepped up, share with this board, assistance that you could provide. Walk us through that, and how in the heck did they say, "Nah, Martin, we're good. No, thank you."
So let me start with a little background. First, something you might not have noticed, I'm an old Southern white guy.
Martin, I swore you were high yellow. Martin, you light skinned. If we're in Louisiana, you could be my uncle. Don't even try it.
So you might think that I'd be uncomfortable here, but I grew up in an all-black community on the south side of Greensboro. My best friends were destroyed as I was growing up. My best friend was killed on the playground. And I made this pledge at his funeral that I'd live the rest of my life for the two of us, not for just the one of me. So you may ask, why do I care about this? My favorite speaker of all time is Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass says, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. It's the greatest quote ever. So why does St. Augustine's matter? It's the place where children grow up into men that don't have to be repaired, and women. So I started in 1980 with a small group that what we wanted to do was translate the civil rights gains into the economic arena. That if you didn't have economic wealth and you didn't have economic opportunity, the civil rights movement would be important, but it would be hollow in a way. And so we grew from really a $77 bake sale into a $5 billion nonprofit financial institution.
Mm.
And I personally have made thousands of loans. We've made tens of thousands of loans to people that banks wouldn't lend to. And my loss record is almost zero, which just says that if you give people a fair chance, they'll do whatever it takes to pay back. So when St. Augustine's I got drawn into this. Many of you don't know Napoleon Wallace, who is this unbelievable guy who is wheelchair bound with ALS. And he's like, Martin, if you don't do this, who's going to do it? Who's going to come forward with money? And he kept badgering me, and he can only speak through a synthetic voice. He can't move a single thing except his eyes. And so I got involved enough to find out that there had been a loan offered and made to St. Augustine's that was a $7 million loan by Gothic Ventures, which is it was a white lawyer in Raleigh. And when I got the paperwork, because I found I could get information from everybody, what I saw was a loan that I couldn't believe, and no one knew about it. It was 26% annual interest on a $7 million loan, and if you paid it off the day after it was brought, you still had to pay an $840,000 prepayment penalty to this lender. So I went to the lawyer, and I said, this is predatory, and I know what I'm talking about. I've been designated by the payday lenders in America as their number one enemy in the universe. And I like, universe, okay. I didn't even know you had payday lending on the moon and Mars. And then when we had the subprime mortgage crisis, my organization was in the middle of that fight before anyone recognized it. Mm-hmm. 10 years I testified in the U.S. Senate Banking and House Financial Services Committees. So all I can tell you is that when I say a loan is predatory, I feel like I've earned the right to claim the expertise that I know what I'm talking about. This loan, not only was it 26% interest, and after 45 days, the prepayment penalty was not 2%, it was the full year's interest at 26%. It's huge. And not only that, when I got into the terms of it, it said that if you get a loan from anyone else like us, you have to take 100% of that money and prepay our loan and pay the prepayment penalty. if you were to sell any property that was unnecessary at St. Augustine's, like an off-campus residential property that wasn't essential, 100% of that money has to come and be paid back to Gothic Ventures and pay a prepayment penalty on the amount that was mandatory. So even though I'm old and I'm white-haired, when I was young, I had red hair and a really hot temper. And now I've lost the red hair, but I still got the hot temper, and it just pissed me off what they were doing. And I really did believe that what that lender was trying to do was take the campus. It had a $30 million facility at 26%. Most people who don't do finance don't know this. After 3 years, the amount of $30 million would double to $60 million. 3 more years, it'd go to $120 million. And then the campus is gone. Not just the university is gone, but the debt would have built up such that you cannot then recover it at that point. So on November 4th of last year, knowing that they were about to take another $4 million advance at 26% interest with all these bad things, the chairman of the board asked me, he says, well, if you think you're so hot, why don't you give us an offer? I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. And I wrote out a proposal that said, we will provide the first $20 million of financing so that you can pay off the IRS. Because IRS, I mean, they don't mess around.
Those penalties just keep going.
The penalties keep going. It's criminal offense, and they can come and seize your cash at any time. So you just can't run an organization. To pay that off, to pay off Gothic, although I wanted to have them feel some pain that they didn't get their prepayment penalty back. And then $3 million that would be used for paying back salaries, because at November 4th, there had been 3 or 4 months that the staff and faculty had not been paid. So I put that in, I gave it to the finance committee of the board, I presented it to them, and I did get the message back from the chairman saying, well, I'm going to read it so that I don't get it. I had one condition in the loan, and the loan, here's what it said. It said, SAU board will have to restructure such that the current and former board chairs leave the board. I said, this is not personal. When a team or a business collapses, the coaches are asked to leave to restore confidence that the future course of action will be different than the past course. So I didn't call names or anything. I was just saying, I've been on the board of the Ford Foundation. I've probably raised in grants more than $1 billion. You can't get money to something that people have no confidence in. And that's what it takes. And basically the response I got was, that's a non-starter. You're not getting me off the board. And
so here you are presenting a real lifeline that could save the university, that could save this board from an awful transaction they involved them in. And the ego was so massive that, as opposed to putting the university and its history and its alumni and its students and the community before that person's ego, they said no.
Correct. So the point is, and I may disagree with folks here, I don't think that the board chair even has an intent to turn the property over to developers per se. He has, and y'all will hate me for this, he has the same exact mindset that Donald Trump has. He believes that he is the only person who can actually save St. Augustine's University, and yet he will be part of the problem because he can't see past himself. Now, what I would say, you've heard the old saying, without vision, the people perish.
Yep.
That's where we are right now. And what has happened since November 4th, when I made my offer, and it was not the lowest rate, it was still 9%, because the
last I checked, 9 is better than 26.
So what has happened at each step, got hold of the Gothic Ventures loan, which is just utterly corrupt.
Absolutely.
The law firm that had actually represented the university, which means that it is a outright conflict of interest to be providing that through one of your partners.
Absolutely.
So that was number one. The next one was that they had an idea of connecting with a sports real estate development company out of Miami who had never done a project before, ever.
Oh, had never done a project.
Had a project completed, or even as far as, and they were going to do a $70 million advance to the university, allegedly, in exchange for 100% of all the property, the 105 acres, plus all the off-campus properties leased to this group at 99 years. So if that had gone through, it would have basically transferred the campus, and it's complicated, but it was all untransparent until we got a hold of it and got the Attorney General involved, who said this doesn't make sense. And now there's another proposal. So there's always something that is the gold around the corner. And now there is a loan, that's why the markers are there, from what's called a hard money lender, meaning that they make loans based solely on collateral with the intent often of taking the collateral. And here the loan will be 10 or 12% in the first year, 14 or 15% in the second year, X amount in the third year. So it's a lot better than what the Gothic Ventures loan is. But it's still unsurvivable for the university, that just the excess interest being paid on the Gothic loan, if we'd gone that path, would have required 50 to 60 staff and faculty members to be terminated simply to pay the interest between 26% and 9%. It doesn't really make any sense at all. And yet I think that the people think they're doing the right thing, that we're the only ones who can save this university. The rest of you folks don't understand what we see. So I think it is a failure of vision, a failure of judgment, and yes, perhaps some conflict of interest engaged there. But we're getting to the point where it's almost too late.
Right.
Not just the accreditation's already been denied 2 or 3 times, but if you get debt that is another 60 or 70 million with an interest rate that's unaffordable, you can't even restart.
Right.
This university was started by ex-slaves, white Episcopal people of faith. Those were the folks.
Right.
I think we're at a point, and so I promise to do this, but I believe we're complaining. Y'all need to go occupy the campus, take it over, and really say this is our land for 158 years. We're not going to wait on the Attorney General. We're not going to wait on another loan with markers that will put you so deep. Who the gentleman was who said, we can outlast them? No, you can't. If they get you so deep in debt, as again, Frederick Douglass once said, he says, there's nothing that has enslaved freed slaves as much as debt has been free. That was his analysis in 1865.
Benjamin, so this is, when I walked on that campus, the point that he just made, as I'm looking at it, I first go, the amount of money you're going to have to spend to bring these buildings up to standard. When buildings are not occupied for a long period of time, when they sit there, they deteriorate. We're not talking one building. We're talking multiple. We're talking now millions of dollars. So then when you go the accreditation issue, then you go the loan issue, the debt issue, it's literally as if these folks are not trying to actually save the institution because there literally is no logic. There's no logic to saying no, thank you. Right. There is no logic. There's no logic to have a graduate who helped two other institutions get the accreditation back, including one North Carolina, and you're like, yeah, we good. We're not going to meet with you. That is insane to me.
And Roland, as we've talked before, the illogical process that this board has done is you don't have anything to compare this to. And when we talk about buildings, one of the things about what we would inherit is monumental as we try to remove this board, and we need to have that board gone before anything else. They need to be gone tomorrow.
So what is the what's next? Because but Martin said he's right. I mean, this has to escalate. When you talk about you're inching closer, we're talking 3 to 6 months. I don't see, if you got 100 students or less than 100 students, I don't see how after graduation on May 3rd, there are 50 or 25 students and you get denied accreditation, it's game over. Morris Brown maintained 2 students to keep going. That was a 2-decade process. He missed an entire generation of Black students.
Exactly. And as we are looking at moving forward and using the tools that we have, one of the tools that Martin talked about is we need to occupy the campus. But we're working through the Attorney General's office. He has put together a series of things in regards to financial mismanagement, fiduciary irresponsibility, and he has to go ahead and implement that. And we are working with him to do his due diligence in this process.
There have been lawsuits. When I understand the technicality. When I talked, when one of the folks said that students said they had a debt, even though the company money paid it off. Do those students have standing to sue?
Yes, they do.
As fraud. I mean, because a lot of lawsuits there. Who has standing?
The students and the parents of the students have the most prominent standing.
So is the alumni or someone else looking to sponsor one parent, one student to file that lawsuit to get an injunction, to get something?
We have garnered those students and those parents. We have put them in touch with our attorneys who, when we had our case, and we are moving forward with that.
How soon?
We have collected documentation from the students and the parents. We've got situations where the school itself, and the documentation is that the school was doing illegal drawdowns from the Department of Education.
That's federal.
Yes.
Which means that's the U.S. attorney.
That's the U.S. attorney. And then now with our attorney general, our state attorney general is looking at that with all of the Department of Justice, the federal group, Department of Education, and all of that is part of his investigation now. Okay. And so, and I will say in regards to what was in the Sachs report was that there was $10 million that was unaccounted for. And we also were finding that there were students who had not received their Pell Grant, their work study money.
That's also federal.
Yes. And so the Attorney General now has talked with the Department of Justice, Department of Education, and they're doing their investigation. Now, they have not talked to us directly as to where they are, but we do know that that's going. And the Attorney General, the local Attorney General, the state Attorney General, took our case. We had 52 allegations in there. They were investigating all of 52. One of the first pieces that low-hanging fruit was that St. Aug was putting paychecks to to staff electronically. However, none of their benefits or anything were being paid, and no money was being deposited into their accounts.
What's wire fraud?
Hello. So they did charge Marcus Burgess with fraud.
Who did?
The state attorney general. He's been charged with fraud.
Civil or criminal?
I believe it's criminal.
Don't worry about it. We're going to look it up.
Good. Look it up.
We're going to look it up. Go ahead. Final comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to kind of paint, first of all, timeline. We talked about federal. We have to realize our options are very limited from the standpoint of that our beloved school has a scarlet letter on it. So what that means is you first of all got to get permission from the Department of Education to reapply for accreditation. The Accreditation Association has to get permission from the Department of Education to accept the application. There has to be a 1-year wait period before you can even apply. During that time, a self-study needs to be done. And just like no money will be given until leadership is gone, no accreditation will be given as well.
Martin, final comment.
I don't want to disagree completely. I am a lawyer, not a very good one, but I don't think we're in a lawsuit stage right now. The Attorney General did a great job in reviewing this sports deal with the realtor. But the problem is that the state Attorney General has statutes that give him what authority he has.
Right.
And he has the authority to do two things. Number one, if there's a transfer of more than 50% of the real estate property, he has to approve it. And what they've done now is if you borrow money against 100% of the property, that authority is not triggered. The second thing is that they find that it is an absolute violation of fiduciary duty. They can take the entire institution and put it into receivership.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it into receivership, a judge who gets it could say, well, we're going to pay off these $40 million of creditors. And particularly if that judge knows some of the real estate developers in Raleigh, that's a dangerous course for us. So I don't really think that the Attorney General, even though they are incredible, wonderful civil servants, I don't think they are going to get us out now. That we have to do something dramatic before this next stage of debt comes in. The board thinks that this debt will save them and get them reaccredited by getting 50 or 60 or $70 million of debt. But until you have the vision, not only the people, but the university will perish, and we'll lose the campus as well as the university if that happens. And that's where I think just are out of time.
Right.
We've got to take matters into our own hands. And this is a big enough group, we could do it.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.